Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for joining us here today. My name is Iman Al-Mghiri. I'm a communication manager within the diplomatic field. I'm previously Abu Dhabi Youth Hub project manager and currently studying cultural diplomacy. Thank you all so much for joining us here for the Edit by Zahra, which is the second annual broadcast talk to celebrate Emirati Women's Day, which is marked every year on the 28th of August. Emirati Women's Day celebrates the achievements and milestones of women across the UAE. Today, we are pleased to bring together a group of women who are spearheading key pillars of societal development and are truly inspirational role models for the next generation. From education to environment, from diplomacy to defense, the women that you will hear from today are female force paving the way for the next 50 years. To that end, we are honored to be joined by Her Excellency Hind Al-Ataiba, Ambassador of the UAE to the French Republic. Sophie Dowarro, Cartier's Chief Executive Officer for Middle East, India, and Africa. Hind Al-Awais, Vice President of the International Participant Department at Expo 2020 Dubai. And Dr. Manal Tariyam, CEO of the Primary Healthcare Sector at Dubai Health Authority. And as well, Dr. Lamia Fawaz, Executive Director of Brand and Strategic Initiatives at Masdar. Unfortunately, Lieutenant Colonel Pilot Sarah Al-Hijri won't be able to join us today due to unforeseen work commitments. However, we would like to thank her for her continued support of empowering women and leading by example in serving our nation. Bringing us all together today is the Edit by Zahra, which is the English language platform from the UAE's longest established women magazine, Zahra Al-Khalij. It is a conduit for community, for conversations and culture. The Edit by Zahra aims to amplify the message of Emirati Women's Day, bringing to the forefront the achievement of inspirational female leaders from the UAE, which aims to exert a long sustainable social and environmental impact. Now more than ever, it is vital that women stand by each other in solidarity, forging a future for humanity that honors the female experience, and as well benefits from the women's vision, compassion, and of course, integrity. We're very pleased to be partnering with Expo 2020 Women's Pavilion in collaboration with Cartierye, a company that has been dedicated to empowering women for decades through flagship programs, such as the Cartierye Women Initiative, which empowers female entrepreneurs. Today, we'll be talking in depth about the Women's Pavilion, which will inspire visitors with a message of equality and celebrate women's achievements from all around the world. The UAE's resilience during this global pandemic has set global standards, and women have played a key part in driving the nation's steady course throughout the last 18 months by empowering one another, by helping those who are affected most, volunteering, contributing to charities, and of course, playing a crucial role in the UAE's future and decision-making. Our panelists, as well as you, the audience, are instrumental to our nation's success. Hello, Your Excellency. To open the conversation. Okay.
Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you so much for having me. And excuse the technical difficulties. I've just arrived to Paris yesterday, so settling in.
Bless you, Your Excellency. Take your time. Okay.
Thank you so much. Appreciate you having me today. And especially to discuss this topic, which I consider one of the most important subjects, really, and one that really is close to my heart. And I want to start by expressing just how fortunate we are here in the UAE to benefit from much rights and benefits in terms of women advancement. And so...
Correct, Your Excellency. Thank you so much. Such a beautiful words. To open the conversation, which will be starting, I'm delighted to introduce Your Excellency, and mashallah, you've been well introduced by your opening talk, so thank you so much for that. Allow me to tell you, Her Excellency Hind Al-Ataiba has been the first female Emirati ambassador to France. Thank you so much for being with us today. And thank you as well for joining us. I would like to as well now move forward to open the conversation between Hind El Awais, the Vice President of Participants Department at Expo 2020. And over to you, Hind.
Thank you, Iman. Hello, everyone. Such a pleasure to be with you here. Such an honor for us as Emirati women, as women who live in this country, to be able to celebrate this day together. And I'm so pleased to be speaking to Her Excellency Hind El Awais. Congratulations on your post. We expect big things from you, but no pressure. Your Excellency, it makes me proud to see you in this position. And perhaps the first question we'd like to ask you is about your journey. This is, diplomacy is not a new field for you. You have been in this field for a long time, but perhaps you could tell us a little bit more about your journey. What inspires you? What gets you up in the morning to keep doing the work that you do, not only in representing your country, but in carrying forward all of these very important issues, as you have highlighted, one of them being women's rights and empowerment and equality?
Thank you. Thank you so much, Hind, and thank you for the opening questions. My journey started truly with telling the UAE story. I've been working in communications from the start of my career, and really trying to promote some of the flagship projects that we have in Abu Dhabi, and then it somehow transitioned into telling the UAE story on the global stage, which is
We can hear you, Your Excellency.
Apologies, have I lost you? The screen changed.
But
I think we're okay now.
Mm-hmm. Okay, perfect. So really, as I mentioned, it's been a journey of telling the UAE story. And when I joined the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, I thought what better really to do but try to communicate some of what we have achieved and accomplished in the country on the global stage. It's been quite an interesting journey. It's been quite a diverse journey. We've been working to highlight economic advancement, cultural advancement, political advancement, and really work on some of the key flagship projects of the UAE, namely one of them being women advancement. And I think the story has not quite reached the global stage very much. I think, unfortunately, we still, because of the geographic location where we are, women continue to be perceived as perhaps suppressed and not enjoying the same rights as the men. And I hope that, by being here, and especially in this position, that I can help perhaps highlight some of the misconceptions with regards to this matter. What inspires me is really leading this journey with the support of other females that we have seen, and some of you, here in this panel are a great example of the UAE story when it comes to this file. And I do hope that I can contribute somehow to supporting, mentoring, and perhaps helping further drive this agenda.
Thank you, Your Excellency. And I think it inspires me as well to be surrounded by my sisters, really, in this journey. And I think that, you'll see at our pavilion, we have a lot of that same objective to address these misconceptions, not only about women in the UAE, but globally. Women play such an important role in our society, and I think that we have a duty, all of us really, to keep reinforcing that message. But as we think about our duty to support women, to keep pushing that agenda forward, I have to ask, your challenges, or perhaps the obstacles you have faced in your career. Could you tell us how you have overcome these obstacles or challenges?
There's been clearly a lot of challenges. I think nobody's exempt from facing challenges in their career. I have to say, starting off my journey as a young working professional, I had to make some adjustments to fit into the workplace. Challenges faced were with relation to perhaps relationships with other colleagues, to prioritization, to office politics. I'm sure many of you have faced some of these. But if I want to focus on one which relates specifically to women here, and the challenge was to how do you pursue projects and matters that you're very passionate about, and at the same time manage your emotions as a young woman. I'd say it took some time. It really, and I'm being honest here. There's always this perception that you need to always be in control and put together. Mm-hmm. And I think managing emotions took some time and took a few years to be able to adjust and perhaps direct, your passion and feelings in a much more constructive way. So that would be number one for me. The other challenge sometimes came in moments where at times you do find yourself perhaps in situations where you need to push your voice much stronger in order to be heard. As I've become more experienced, that has become less of an issue, and it no longer is at the moment. But I really wanted to mention this, and especially for the young listeners, that it is important to project your views and to project your opinions, and to make sure that you do communicate them and that you are not silenced.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for sharing that insight with us, and thank you for being authentic and meaningful with us. These are not easy questions, and sometimes they get glossed over. Despite challenges, we have great examples of women leading the way, whether in sustainability, Dr. Lamia is an example of that, in health, Dr. Manal, yourself, Your Excellency, in diplomacy. What is the responsibility of women who are in these positions as role models for the next generation?
Our responsibility, I believe, must be to support one another. You hear a lot that sometimes some women do not support other women, and I know it could be a challenge in many ways, but I really do hope to see that women could be kinder to one another, that they could take one another under their wings and try to really embrace one another in a sense that is supportive, apart from competition and other challenges they might face in their career. I do hope to see more female leaders supporting their female colleagues. I've experienced both ways, and I have to say I'm again very blessed to have had female mentors in my life that really have made a difference and supported me in my journey. And I try myself to provide that support to other female colleagues and younger ones.
Thank you. Finally, as we celebrate our Golden Jubilee this year, the role that you see women playing in designing, in contributing to the next 50 years of our nation?
The role I see women designing is simply the same role that I see men designing. I don't think this is anything specific for females here. I think we're at a stage where we are able to compete side by side, to drive the progress in our country and elsewhere. And I really do hope that we manage to see this not just in our country, but really across the globe, because I still think there is a lot that still needs to be done.
Thank you, Your Excellency. Thank you for your insights, for being here with us. I'll give it back to Iman, and we'll continue the conversation.
Thank you so much, ladies. It was really, truly an enlightening discussion. It was an honor to have you with us, Ambassador Al-Ateba, and we're so grateful for your time, and we were truly inspired. Thank you so much. I would now like to turn to Dr. Manal Tariem and Dr. Lamia Fawaz, two incredible women whose contribution to the UAE's development will be celebrated within the Women's Pavilion at Expo 2020 Dubai. Firstly, we would love to know about your journeys and what's the current work that you're doing at the moment.
Well, thank you. Thank you for having me, and thank you for choosing me to be part of your celebration today and the pavilion as well. Well, my journey started with a little girl with big dreams, and I wasn't shy of them. Like every other teenager, I thought that I want to reach Mars and I want to do something big. But at the end, I had a great mentor at school who told me to pave my way towards Mars. And the pavement that I chose to take for myself was healthcare. And then the whole journey started with studying medicine, living abroad. I spent several years in UK, and then I spent 7 years in Germany, where I was subjected to new cultures. And I'm very proud to have done that, because it enlightened me, and it showed me that we're not alone in this world. And there are other people, different cultures, different beliefs that if we would like to be accepted in those societies, we have to learn how to accept them as well. And I learned that at a very early age, and I was blessed to be given the opportunity to learn that. And when I came back to the UAE, I thought that I have to do something. I mean, throughout my career, I was supported by a loving family, a great government that would invest in people like me and continues to invest in the youth. So I thought, apart from doing medicine, which I still do until now, I'm also heavily involved in the humanitarian work. I'm the CEO of Noor Dubai, which is one of the Sheikh Mohammed bin Rashid initiatives for humanitarian work, and we specialize in preventing blindness. So we travel across the world, and we work in different programs and projects. We actually help governments to achieve the proper infrastructure for healthcare in their countries. And I'm glad that I have visited countries that in the past maybe I didn't know existed. And I managed to mix with the locals and support them and help them. It's not just a treatment that we're providing. We're providing also opportunities for people and for cities and for villages to come out from poverty and become more productive. And I'm very blessed as well to be chosen to chair a global committee for SDGs, which will be also shown at Expo. And I'm looking forward to do that, because it gives a meaning to what we do. It gives a meaning to everything that I do, from the time I start my day, wake up, drive to work, spend hours at work. It makes all this effort meaningful to me and to my family. So I will continue doing that, and I will continue to help people, whether in healthcare in Dubai or in the humanitarian work abroad, because I think that each and every one of us is an ambassador for the UAE in the field that she specializes in. And I do agree with Her Excellency. I think women should start supporting each other a little bit more and pulling each other up, because at the end, you don't want to reach alone. You'll be lonely. No matter how high you reach, you do not want to be lonely. It's not a good feeling. So it's always good to celebrate with a team. So teamwork is, for me, is what made me reach to where I am. And I think it's going to make a lot of young Emirati women and non-Emirati women reach as well to even higher than where I reached.
Thank you for your inspiring words, Dr. Manal.
Thank you.
And over to you, Dr. Lamia. We would love to hear from you.
Good afternoon, everyone, and I'm very proud to be among such inspirational women around me. For me, my journey really started at home. I was very fortunate to be brought up in a household where my mother was the first person in the UAE to have her PhD. She was also the Undersecretary of the Ministry of Education at that point, Assistant Undersecretary, which was the highest government position a woman had at that time. So it was instilled in me from such a young age that women grew up to lead. There was no question about that. My father also played a very important role. One thing he always said to us, and I never forget this, he says, material things come and go, but what I can leave for you is an education. Being educated is very important. That is what I can leave as a legacy for you, or behind for you to take care of yourselves, to be independent. So he encouraged my sisters and I to continue our education. We went to the US. I got my doctorate from the George Washington University and came back to Abu Dhabi in 2009. I joined the Masdar Institute of Science and Technology, basically in the education, but focused on sustainability and clean energy sector. In 2018, I joined Masdar Corporate as the Executive Director of Brand and Strategic Initiatives. I'm responsible for taking care of the brand vision of the organization, ensuring that we continue being seen as the renewable energy leader from Abu Dhabi. I also oversee our business partnerships and relations. I'm also responsible for a few initiatives that focus on empowering youth and women, which is really the most important thing that we do, is getting the youth to be prepared, skilled, to become leaders for tomorrow. Of course, our focus is on sustainability, but that falls in every sector. How do you create sustainable leaders from the young generation that's coming? And that's what I'm doing today. We will continue doing it. I think as long as our roles here among us all inspires young women and men to become leaders, to support each other, to understand the importance of the contribution of both genders to the future of our economy and globally, then we're on a good path and we can continue doing that.
Very impressive, Dr. Lamia. Such an enlightening journey. I would like now to bring in Sophie. Sophie Dourois joined Cartier in 2008 and has recently been appointed as Cartier CEO of Middle East, India, and Africa. Please join me in congratulating her on this new position. Together with Hind Al-Awais, Sophie has masterminded the Women's Pavilion at Expo 2020 Dubai over the past few years. Welcome, Sophie.
Welcome, and thank you for being there.
Thank you. Sophie, can you tell us more about this unique collaboration between Expo 2020 and Cartier that will bring the Women's Pavilion to life?
Thank you, Eman. Yes, and to answer this question, I would like to remind, and the team here will remind, a memory. It was 3 years ago, and we came to Expo as Cartier, as a team, and we had this maybe crazy idea of doing a women's pavilion to go one step further into our commitments towards women at Cartier, because this is really genuine and this is really something in which we believe a lot. And we were together with Hind in the same room. First time we met each other, we were explaining, okay, we have a great idea. And in fact, Hind, you answer, we have exactly the same idea. We want to do a women's pavilion. And the story could have ended like this, meaning, okay, you have your pavilion, I don't have my pavilion. And in fact, it was incredible because we had lots of discussion and we said, okay, let's ally, let's join forces together. It can be very stronger if we are together, and this is a story that we are living for the last 3 years together with the Expo team. And it just illustrates this alliance between an institution, the World Exhibition, represented by a country, the UAE, and the private sector company, which is Cartier, a French company that you know, joining together forces because we share the same values. But the richness of this incredible collaboration is that we are different. And we are joining forces in the same goal, with the same values of just making things better. And I think that when it's about global issues, we need to do that. It's not anymore just, let's say, the duty of the government. Yes, it is, of course, but it's much more. And this is the duties, of course, of the private sector, of individuals, of artists, and all together we'll make things evolve for sure. And we are convinced about that. This is really the starting point of this collaboration that illustrates this incredible partnership. Everything is new in the way we...
And that's what happens when women get together.
Correct. Yes, exactly.
We make things happen.
Yes, yes.
We're very lucky with such energy and collaboration. And turning into you, Hind, we're celebrating Emirati Women's Day. And here we're also talking about the Women's Pavilion at Expo 20 Dubai, which is the first World Expo in 50 years to have a standalone pavilion dedicated to women. Hind, can you tell us why this is important to the UAE and to you as an Emirati woman, and why did Expo make such a decision?
Thanks, Iman. I think this is a really important question for us to first remember and recall how important the issue of gender equality and women's empowerment is to the UAE. We would not be gathered here today if it wasn't for Her Highness, the Mother of the Nation, Sheikha Fatima, who created Emirati Women's Day. Having the Women's Pavilion at Expo is a reflection of the UAE's commitment to this issue. His Highness Sheikh Zayed, when founding this country, once said, "Nothing brings me greater joy than to see women taking their rightful place in society." And this has affected everything that we do. This has affected the way that we design or that we pursue public affairs. You see more and more Emirati women taking the lead. This is the way that we think about sustainability issues, with Wiser being an example. And so when it came to Expo, it was only sort of natural that Expo would also focus its attention and centralize the issue of gender equality and women's empowerment, not only through our pavilion, which we're very proud of, and through a collaboration that we're very proud of, but also through every discussion that we host. Every programming initiative, every thematic week at Expo, our program for People and Planet has a gender lens. And we will shine a light on issues that relate to women across everything that we do. For Expo itself, the importance of pursuing this type of approach is because bringing the world together under the theme of connecting minds, creating the future, we cannot ignore that 50% of the global population has to have a voice. Their concerns have to be integrated. If we want to come together at Expo and think about how we create the future, we have to recognize that we can't build a prosperous, sustainable, and inclusive future without the full and equal participation of women. Now, what it means for me as an Emirati woman, this is hugely important because it allows us to tell a story to the rest of the world that not everybody is very cognizant of, and this is what Her Excellency Hind alluded to earlier. I think through Expo, through the work that we're doing, we're going to be able to showcase and tell the world this is who we really are. We are strong, we are capable, we are doing things, we are empowered women who are shaping the future of our country, shaping ideas that travel through the world, and we're here.
Thank you, Hind. You got us very excited to know more about the Women Pavilion. In that case, let us see a video about the Women Pavilion Manifesto. I believe we're all pretty
What makes a
excited.
better world? A better world is a world where all human beings can thrive. A more tolerant, caring, harmonious world. A world where every action counts. where women and girls can share their vision and achieve their dreams. A world where they can thrive, because when women thrive, humanity thrives. The Women's Pavilion by Expo 2020 in collaboration with Cartιέ.
It is truly inspirational, and it got us very excited. It's truly inspirational. Sophie, can you tell us more about the purpose and the manifesto of the pavilion?
Yes. When women thrive, humanity thrives. And this is really the motto. We've worked and picked up each single word which are the most important and everything that is behind this pavilion. It means that empowering women really empowers the world. And that we strongly believe that all together will make things change, evolve, thanks to small action, big laws, big changes in the society, but this is really all together that will make things evolve. And we cannot stay. Of course, we acknowledge in the pavilion that things have moved forward in the right direction. Yes, it's positive and very positive in many ways. But we have to acknowledge as well that we still have challenges and that this women's empowerment issue has no borders, everywhere in the world in different ways. So we need to act. We need to act now. We cannot live and imagine a world where half of its population is overlooked. It's impossible. So we need to act for the future generation. And this is why we are here together. And this pavilion is, of course, an amazing exhibition that you will discover where we have amazing women featured, women from the UAE, women from the world, as well as a place of sharing. And this is also something very important. It will be very lively, meaning you'll have 150 initiatives throughout the 6 months where we want to embark people in various ways. And so this is really the purpose of this pavilion, to give new perspectives on the women's cause.
Thank you so much for sharing it with us. Now, I would like to turn to Her Excellency Ambassador العتيبة for her thought. Why is it so important that Expo 2020 Dubai has a pavilion dedicated to women's empowerment and gender equality?
I have to say, I'm actually even more excited about this pavilion after hearing from Hind and Sophie. Truly, what an opportunity. Expo, as you're aware, will attract the entire world to participate, engage, and experience many offerings. And so knowing that there's a women's pavilion that is dedicated to this important subject and providing visitors with the opportunity to engage, to have the dialogue, to listen in, and to perhaps find solutions to some of the challenges is very important, and I'm very pleased about that. It's important also in the sense that it really provides importance to this subject. It really provides a home for women, and I'm sure men as well that are interested in hearing about this subject to come and learn more about this. So very much looking forward to, and I do hope as well that going back to the misconceptions that we have again, and just focusing on that, the importance of telling the story of women that can perhaps inspire others and serve as an example. I really expect for this pavilion to be able to do that and contribute in making a difference.
Thank you, Your Excellency, for sharing your thoughts. I can't wait to see it come to life personally. And a question to you. What can visitors expect from this experience? I believe everyone's excited and intrigued as much as we are.
So our whole pavilion was built around this idea of creating new perspectives. We want to tell the world that women have contributed to the advancement of our societies throughout history till today. We start the journey with an immersive film on what equality means, and we do that through children's eyes. We move on to an area where we look at women's achievements throughout history until today, women who have made their mark, women who have broken the glass ceiling so that we could all be here today. They have forged paths forward for us. But as Sophie said, we can't ignore the fact that there are challenges that still face women all over the world. When you think about education and recognize that 132 million girls are out of school, political participation, only 22 countries globally are leading their nations. When you think about harm, physical harm that women go through, whether in climate disasters or whether through, violence that they experience, these are significant or disproportionate challenges that women face as opposed to men. And so we have to recognize that. We have to recognize the challenges. But regardless of the challenges, we also don't end on that note. And we want to make sure that we are bringing hope or telling the right story, that women are change makers today, that they're providing solutions. And so the last section of the pavilion is all about our solutions, the solutions that women are bringing forward from grassroots level to top levels. We have, for example, the Wiser initiative that is featured there, because bringing a solution, teaching women or enabling women to develop renewable energy solutions is hugely important, and we need more of those initiatives. Or whether we think of like the achievements of Dr. Manal through Noor Dubai, who's also featured in the pavilion. So we want to tell those stories. And of course, I'm particularly proud of Emirati women being featured, but we have women from all over. Really, we have paid such close attention to making sure that we have a good geographical representation. Women all over the world are driving change forward, are driving progress, are bringing innovative solutions. And when women have an opportunity to deliver or to have access to some of these solutions, the benefit is not only for them. There's a ripple effect that happens, and the benefits their family, their communities, their societies, and humanity at large, which is why it was so important for us to demonstrate that when women thrive, they're not just doing it for themselves, but when women thrive, really, humanity thrives.
Couldn't agree more. Thank you so much, and it is truly an honor to hear stories of women from all around the world, and the Emirati women as well. Lamia and Manal, I'll start with Lamia. We want to know how it feels to be honored in this landmark project.
Thank you, Iman. Of course, it's a privilege to be part of this pavilion. Actually, when I heard that there was a women's pavilion, I was probably one of the most overexcited people out there. And it honestly just makes sense that the UAE would do something like this. We've always been ahead of the game in terms of many different things, but specifically in women empowerment issues, our public policy, we lead the region in those activities. And I think having a pavilion that showcases not only Emirati women, but women from all over the world is so important. We know from research for young ladies, it's important for them to see role models in different sectors, in different positions, for them to be able to visualize that they can reach those positions, those leadership opportunities. And the fact that, as Hind mentioned, that they're not in that pavilion, they're not just showing women that reach, but are actually showing ways of how to get there. I think Hind slightly mentioned Wiser, which is a program that Masdar launched back in 2015 on the sidelines of the UN General Assembly, which is Women in Sustainability, Environment, and Renewable Energy. And essentially, it's a platform that supports women, giving them opportunities of mentorship, workshops, programs, many different aspects where we're bringing their skills up to be able to be sustainability leaders in the future. So I'm also very proud that that's going to be showcased in the Women's Pavilion. I mean, I think everybody here touched on how great it is, so
beautiful feelings, Dr. Lamia. And I'll turn into Dr. Manal to reiterate the question. Can you tell us how it feels? It's a true honor to be in this landmark project.
Well, I'm very happy to have a pavilion and for women at Expo, and I'm also very happy to see that the government is coming together with a brand like Cartier, and what a brand, I mean, an international name, in supporting women, which shows how much they're not just a brand, but they're a community that cares. And I think that's a great platform for us as women, as Emirati women or international women, to be to showcase what we've done, so that the younger generation can learn from it. And I think it's also a great opportunity to show what our achievements have reached to, because by profession I'm a physician, I'm an eye surgeon, so my surgeries give women their vision back, but Noor Dubai gives them their sight back, which is a big, there's a big difference between seeing and having a vision. What we do is that we empower little girls through our surgeries to go back to school. We empower them to have an opportunity to find a job, to be able to take care, to get married and have a family, and to take care of that family. When we have seen in so many countries how, especially the underdeveloped countries, how women are being treated. And you all know that, but imagine a woman with a disability, like blindness. In some countries, they're socially isolated because of wrong beliefs. They think that a disability is something like being touched by the devil or having black magic, and they're actually locked up. They're not allowed to practice their role as daughters or as mothers or as an active member in society. And a simple surgery that takes only 15 minutes, $4, can change their lives and make them a more active person in society. And this is the inequality that we would like to address. We're very blessed to be living in a country. Yes, we do have challenges as women, and yes, we do have to fight for our rights, and yes, we do have to put an effort to reach to where we've reached to. But when we travel and we see what other women are facing, it makes me feel blessed to be an Emirati woman. I've had opportunities in this country that other women don't have, and I would like to use what I've learned to empower other women elsewhere, like in Africa or in Asia, to at least achieve what they want to achieve from this world. And I think so far I've managed to do that, and I would love to continue to do that.
Thank you so much, Dr. Lamia, and thank you so much, Dr. Manal, and congratulations, it is well deserved. And we'd like to return back to Sophie. A question for you. We're really, really intrigued and actually interested to know more about the artists and the contributors who've been part of the Women's Pavilion experience.
And to start this answer, I would like to speak about the fabulous traction that this Women's Pavilion has, because it's about a cause. And it's not about, we have nothing to sell, we just have so many things to exchange and all together. And so it has attraction towards many different stakeholders. From institutions, we are very close to UN Women, with whom we have organized many, many things. We have lots of country pavilion as well, with whom we are planning some initiatives. And we have as well some artists. We wanted to enlarge, let's say, our speech, the way we treat this major topic, through the lens of artists. And so we have selected 4 artists, very different. It's 3 women and 1 man on purpose. So 2 of them have worked on the facade. You will discover a beautiful facade when you will enter the pavilion. So Laura Gonzalez, a French architect, she has worked on the facade with a collective of women, with an Emirati woman, with another French woman. Then we have Elcide. Elcide, you know, the French Tunisian artist who has done a calligraphy on the bottom of the facade, and with a beautiful link with a woman from Nepal. So it's also very, very beautiful. And so you have exactly the same calligraphy on some destructed villages that have been rebuilt by a collective of women close to Kathmandu. And we have 2 amazing women as well inside the pavilion who have worked 2 different sections. First, we have Nadine Lavaki, as you were explaining him. So she's been working through the eyes of kids to express what's equality and what's this woman's empowerment for them. And you have as well a section dedicated to Mélanie Laurent, a French director and actress. She's worked for the last 3 years on a tour to film women from all around the world, and lots of women as well from the UAE. So it's a beautiful tour of the world, and especially during this time, it's just amazing to see the richness of women in their intimacy. So there is a short movie of the four of them explaining, in fact, their journey and why they are part of this beautiful project.
Amazing. We would love to definitely see it.
Expo 2020 Dubai Women's Pavilion, in collaboration with Carttier, works with 4 artists. Through their artistic expression, they bring the pavilion vision to life.
I care deeply about women's issues as a woman, as a daughter, as a mother, and as an artist.
When I think of women, I think first of my mom, my wife, my daughter, my sister, and every woman around the world, and I think they are the essence of our existence.
We have a huge responsibility, not only as human beings, but also as artists, because I truly believe in the power of art in igniting change.
We can do everything, we just need to choose our fight. We choose your fight and do it well.
At the Women Pavilion, I'm trying to bring light into some amazing women that I met in Nepal.
It's very important that we show this other point of view, which is women's point of view. I try as much as I can to be the vehicle for other women to express themselves.
The road to women equality has been a long one. There is so much more work to do for all those women everywhere, but we are moving forward, and that's really gives me hope.
We all carry a kind of responsibility to build the world we want to live in. I think it's important to show to the world some stories and perspective, from a different perspective, and the story of these women were important to me because they're coming from a place that we don't put too much highlight on, and sometimes role model doesn't come from this kind of isolated and segregated places. So I think it is and it will always be important to give the voice to these kind of communities.
We work on the facade, which is a very important thing because it's the first thing the people we see before they're coming in the building. So it's the first impression. So we want to work with preciousness, a femininity, with the pattern we use, but also in the simple way.
Visiting different cultures and seeing the world from different women's eyes was really moving to have that intimacy with all those absolutely beautiful and amazing women I met.
This is what usually art does. It humanizes a problem. Instead of hearing about it in the news, you're actually empathizing with another human being.
It's bringing back the world together, and this is important.
I think this will be a platform for people to meet, exchange ideas, discuss important subjects that really matter now.
When women thrive.
When women thrive.
Humanity thrives.
Humanity thrives.
Humanity thrives.
Such a beautiful selection of artists and curators. Beautiful. I bet we're all looking forward to it.
Same for us.
Thank you so much. I would now like to invite questions from our audience to our wonderful panel. Please submit your questions through the chat function, and we'll be waiting for a while to receive the questions. We have already a couple of few questions that will be directed to our beautiful panelists. We can start with Sophie. And Sophie, we're very excited to know more. Tell us more about the decision to involve a male artist in the design of the Women's Pavilion. It's quite a strong statement.
as I said, it's really on purpose because we saw that, in fact, we cannot speak about gender equality only between women. This is not at all the purpose. First of all, this pavilion is a universal pavilion. This is an inclusive pavilion where we want to be all together and, on the contrary, to change the perception that is sometimes, with lots of misconception, on the woman's cause. And sometimes men are not so keen on let's say, listening to the topic. So, on the contrary, what we want people to understand is that this is both men and women that will make the difference. We need champions, and we showcase in the pavilion lots of men who have contributed to make this gender equality evolve, and clearly, and we need champions everywhere for this cause. And one great example are the two men who are just in front of me. I've got appointed to this new position thanks to men. And so in every field, we need men supporting the women's cause. And really, this is something that we paid attention to because it's not a fight of gender, not at all. This is really all together that will make things change.
Amazing. We have another question as well, and I'll believe it would be best answered by Hind Al-Awais. How do you think the pavilion will have an impact on gender equality or women's empowerment?
Well, you know, the way I always think about it is that this agenda has been on our tables for decades. And just like with a lot of other issues, we know what needs to be done on a legislative level. We know what investments need to be made. We know what capacity building programs need to be taken. But what we haven't really scratched the surface of is changing people's hearts and minds. And here we have an opportunity to do so. Expo, by virtue of being Expo, is a place that brings the world together. We have over 190 participants. We have a huge programmatic activity. We have something that speaks to everybody. And really our call is join us in the making of a new world. So in this making of this new world, we are also saying that we need to change our perspectives. Our whole exhibition is called New Perspectives. When women thrive, humanity thrives. And the goal is to change people's belief systems, to have them recognize that women are partners, as Sophie was saying. Women are not sitting in a different camp, and we are not competing in how we create our world. We are in this together. You know, really a lot of my thinking is owed to listening to Her Excellency Reem Al-Hashmi speak about Expo and what it means. And one thing she always used to say was that, you know, she used this verse from the Quran saying that I have made you peoples and tribes so you could get to know one another. And I think that Expo is a great opportunity for us to do so. When His Highness Sheikh Mohammed bin Rashid committed the UAE to Expo, he made one promise that this Expo would be one nation, one pavilion. Every single country that is participating in Expo will have its own pavilion. And that's really anchored in this idea that we all have something to learn from one another. We all have something to share. And if we do so with respect, if we are able to really understand and change our perceptions of each other, the world would be more harmonious. The world would be better in every sense of the word. And the issue about women facing inequality starts from there. Equality starts at home.
Okay. Thank you so much. And I have a special question. I'm personally very intrigued to Her Excellency Hind Al-Ateba. Given that your career path, and I look up to you in diplomatic field, what would you say to your younger self?
Ooh. I like that question. I'd say be kind to yourself. That's what I would say.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you, Your Excellency. And there is a question as well to Dr. Lamia. In your view, what are one of the most important challenges and barriers standing in the way of gender equality?
So there's quite a few, but if I would say maybe a core barrier, it would be access to education. I think, Hind, you mentioned earlier, over 132 million women and girls do not have access to education, and the COVID pandemic actually exacerbated that number. Again, from my personal experience, from what my father also taught me, education is a weapon for women. If they're educated, they can be independent, take care of their families, build a future for themselves. So if it's one core challenge or barrier, I would say it's access to education.
Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Lamia. I will pick one more question for Dr. Manal. What has been the impact of COVID-19 on the cause of women empowerment and equality around the world?
COVID-19. Well, COVID-19 has impacted every life around the world and every country and every government. We've seen healthcare systems in countries that we looked up to collapse at the beginning of the pandemic, and we've seen countries that were not ready, and we've seen, on the contrary, a great example of countries that did very well in the control of the pandemic. I was fortunate enough to work with the team from the beginning, and I've seen what Emirati women did. We've had in Dubai the first and biggest COVID field hospital was managed by Emirati women. The CEO was an Emirati woman, the medical director was an Emirati doctor woman, the nurse, the head of nursing was an Emirati woman, and they created a wonderful team where they managed to treat over thousands of people who were admitted there at the time of the lockdown. Also, we've seen that the airport medical center that's taking care of all the travel protocols, the testing, making sure that nothing comes through the airport during the pandemic is managed by an Emirati woman.
Impressive.
Yeah. And there are many more. The vaccination program is managed by an Emirati woman. So in the health sector, we're blessed to have 64% of the task force being women, and they're very committed. But we did not see a similar example in other countries. We've seen girls drop out of school when we had online learning. We've seen women in the healthcare force sick, and there are statistics of them dying when we spend most of our time treating COVID patients and then at the end of the day going back to our children and our homes. We've seen the efforts of this government and how it protected our people, and they're even extending their hands abroad and building field hospitals in different countries, in Tunisia, in Sudan, in many countries. We've seen the UAE invest, providing vaccine, providing medication. So it's really, we're blessed to have a government that really cares, and we're blessed to have people who trust the government. You need to have both to overcome any disaster, because if the government doesn't care or if your people don't trust that government, you will only have a bigger disaster. So I think that was a key factor in the success story of the UAE against COVID.
Thank you so much, Dr. Manal. I'm afraid this is all the time we have for today. Thank you to all our wonderful panelists. Each of you is true inspiration to us and to the future generations of women in the UAE, I would say. It has been a great pleasure to have you all with us for today, for the second Emirati Women's Day broadcast talk hosted by the Edit by Zahra. Thank you to the Edit by Zahra and Cartиє for bringing us together, and to all our guests in person and who are watching us live on broadcast. I look forward to reconnecting in person at Expo 2020, Dubai, truly, and particularly at the Women's Pavilion, which will open in just a few short weeks. And as well, Women Pavilion will go live today, so make sure you follow to get the updated news about it. As we work together to enhance Emirati women's voice on the world stage, There are really no limits to what we can achieve together. Thank you so much for joining us today. Thank you as well, Your Excellency, for being here with us today and live from France.
Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you, Your Excellency.